Okay, so this is a topic that I'm sure loads of people want to know. Now, this is something I've used time and time again. I'm not going to give you absolutely every single thing that I do. This is more of an, at least an intermediate video, if not higher than. Now, if you've already been through these events, it's pretty easy to look back and see, what was going on then? Astrologically for me, and figure out, signatures of these specific events. So today we are talking about pregnancy and children, having a child in astrology. So to do this, you will use your solar return chart, okay? Now, you are only going to use the system of Placidus in your solar return. If you use whole signs, you will miss the valuable information. I've tested it out. I've done it so many times. I've seen, I've experienced things and been like, what? Why? How did I miss this? And I'll look and I'll realize I had it set to whole signs. Whole signs isn't going to show you what is going on when it comes to predictions, okay? Solar return chart is the exact moment when the sun goes back to the same degree it was at when you was born. So go to astro.com, astrodentist, and click all the buttons. Click go down to extended chart selection. I'm literally doing this off the top of my head now. And then, go from natal chart past synastry, and then it's kind of somewhere down at the bottom. We'll select natal chart and solar return. And there is your solar return forecast. So it works year from year. Now, sometimes solar returns energy starts 3 months before your birthday, or 3 months after, or even 3 months before your next solar return is due to start. Or sometimes it's just like running through the whole year. It's really interesting. The year I had my daughter, I looked at my solar return chart, and I had my Venus in the sign of Gemini in the 5th house. I fell in love with a Gemini child, okay? My daughter was literally born a Gemini. My Venus, Sirius, and Jupiter were all in the sign of Gemini, okay? So Sirius, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is an asteroid that relates to motherhood, transitions for women, agriculture, nurturing, and all those kind of things. So it was falling into my 5th house, if I remember correctly, but just on the cusp between my 4th and my 5th. And my Jupiter was in my 4th house, and my Jupiter was in my 4th house, my Venus was in my 5th, Sirius was in my 5th house, but on the cusp. But natally, my Jupiter was falling into my 8th house, and my Venus was falling into my 9th house. I also had the outer planet Neptune in my natal 5th house falling into my natal 1st house. Now, this isn't something that I've seen many people discuss, but it's something I've noticed a trend. Wherever Neptune falls in your solar return, it can represent a wish being granted. It's strange, I know, but I've seen it time and time again. It represents some sort of wish, some sort of deep, soul desire being fulfilled. And obviously in the 1st house, that was literally fulfilled through my physical body. I wanted a child at that crazily young age. I don't know what I was thinking, guys, but yeah, big blessing anyway. So yeah, my daughter is an actual Gemini sun, so it literally showed her and who she is. Jupiter is obviously, expansion, learning. And like I said, Venus was falling into my 9th house anyway. So you're never going to grow up quite as quickly as you do when you have a child. That's a whole new level of higher learning. That's a whole new level of understanding. So yes, the 8th house rules life and death. So I actually had an experience of bringing forth life. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I had literally sort of prayed on things before, I found out I was pregnant and stuff like that. So when I saw that Neptune signature, it kind of confirmed that when whatever house it's sitting in your solar return, it does bring about a wish a lot of the time. Like, I feel like we all kind of get one wish a year, if that makes sense. Most of the time, I'm not saying every single time that it will be granted in such an obvious way, but I find that majority of the time you find that it will be granted. Majority of the time you can see the sign of the baby. Not always though. I'm going to talk to you about some stuff that sometimes means other things. If you're looking to see if you're going to get pregnant, the first thing you're going to be looking for is a lot of fourth house activity, because this is going to show actual pregnancy, okay? So, really any sign, or more than one, like quite a few collectively. Moon in particular is one that you're going to want to see. Venus, even Jupiter, even Mars, because it could show quick pregnancy, hard, difficult pregnancy. Honestly, Mars in something like Scorpio in the fourth house could show miscarriage, okay? Just being honest with you guys. I have predicted so many pregnancies throughout doing my readings, like so many. So you're going to want to see fourth house activity. The only way you won't really see this is if you didn't know that you was pregnant, okay? A good example of this is when Drake's baby mum was coming out and saying she was pregnant. Obviously, I was intrigued. I'd already learnt this method, and I wanted to know. Just being nosy. But yeah, and I saw somewhere that she was calling the little boy Adonis, which I really like that name. I wanted to call my son Eros, but my baby father was like, no way. But yeah, so I looked at his solar return chart and I can't exactly remember off the top of my head, but I think there was like one thing in the fourth house, but the pregnancy didn't show up, okay? So I knew for a fact that he was not involved at all during the pregnancy. My man just weren't there. He was like, nah, that ain't my kid. But the following year, the year of birth, he had a lot of fifth house activity, and every name, near enough every name, sort of has an asteroid namesake, and Adonis is obviously an asteroid that most of us know already. Got the asteroid Adonis up, and it was sitting in his fifth house in the sign of Libra. So much like my daughter, it showed me her sign and who she actually was, her solar energy. I made a prediction that the child would be born under the sign of Libra, and that, yes, in fact, was his child, okay? We now know today the child is his child, and if I remember correctly, he is actually born under the sign of Libra. So sometimes it can be that easy. You might have to do a little bit of digging. So if you have a name in mind that you want to call your child, like there is actually an asteroid called Chloe, there's these different asteroid names, or just find the asteroid closest to the name that you have in mind. Look it up, because it may very well be sitting in your fifth house or in your fourth house. Now, when I say in your fifth house and in your fourth house, I'm talking about the solar return, fifth or fourth house. Another marker that I would say, Saturn in the fourth house or even in the fifth. So, it's not just fourth house energy. Sometimes it can show up as the fifth. But like I said, it's more of to me, it looks like it will be more of a quick pregnancy, or you probably find out later on, than not having much activity in your fourth house. The very rare times that there's no activity of your fourth house, and even your any fourth house, your solar return fourth house or your natal fourth house, that looks more like sudden pregnancy, sudden child, even adoption, things like that, where the baby comes in kind of ready made and formed. So Saturn in the fourth house may show delays in getting pregnant, but the pregnancy being not necessarily tough, but having to grow a lot, and maybe even going through a lot of trials and tribulations and learning a lot about pregnancy. Maybe really learning how to become a very structured parent during the pregnancy before the child's even here. Look at what planet is being highlighted or is in your 4th house, and that will show you a lot about the nature of the pregnancy. Like Aries, like I said, Mars or Aries can show a difficult pregnancy, but it can show a very quick one. Like you really wasn't expecting it to happen. You may have just suddenly met somebody and got in a relationship with them after coming out of a relationship with somebody you was with for years and wanted their baby, and you never got pregnant, and all of a sudden, whoa, you got a baby in your belly from this new guy. These things happen, okay? Also, you can look at the composite chart, okay? If you manage to get your hands on his time of birth, go girl, go boy, person. If you get her time of birth as well. But yeah, so things like moon in Aries 5th house, moon in Aries 4th house. It will show you that you could definitely have kids very, very quickly with this person. So if you aren't ready for pregnancy, really take care. But yeah, it will show you the nature if it's kind of a fertile pairing, just because, like I said, I know so many people that have been with the same person for years and years, wanting a baby, and they just don't get pregnant. And as soon as they leave that person, they're pregnant, like in an instant. So some pairings are really, really fertile, and other pairings are not so fertile. So that's also another tip. I didn't want to make this video too long, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it. But yeah, those are some easy tips and tricks that pretty much anybody can use to just understand. Now, another configuration that I have seen quite a few times and it works, it's a weird one. Like I said, presence of Scorpio in the 4th house can show miscarriage or even abortion. Vertex sitting in Gemini in the 8th house again, it's like a weird free will thing that happens. I've noticed, not in an inherently negative way, but it shows like the circle of life. So I've noticed whenever this seems to come up, you will maybe not be ready for the pregnancy and maybe not want to go forward. It is your choice. I have my own beliefs on these sort of things, but everyone lives their lives how they want to. Or secondly, I haven't really seen it to mean miscarriage. It could mean miscarriage, but it's usually your own free will, okay? So if you go ahead with the pregnancy, somebody you know of but not close to you tends to pass. And it's usually somebody very old but close to somebody that you're close to. It's weird. I don't really know why, but I've seen it happen time and time again. Like, it actually is a thing that happens. So, it's something about the duality or the polarity, because to me, Gemini in this, earthly plane really, really represents the polarity, the choices between different things, obviously, like the 2 faces of Gemini, that's another thing they say. Could also represent twins, but it could just, show you that. So like I said, now once you see a lot of 4th house activity, it doesn't necessarily mean pregnancy. Asteroid Sirius, I hope I'm saying it right. That one, that can come up in the 4th house as well, because that's like pregnancy. Even Juno to a degree, but I feel like, you're going to want to see a couple things in the 4th house, okay? And like I said, if you have a name in mind, check out the namesake, asteroid, and you're going to want to see it in the 4th house. Now, if you have all this 4th house activity, jump ahead to the next year up, when you should have time of birth, and you will see the child. Like I said, I could see in Drake's chart that he was not there for the pregnancy. He was not in it. He was like, no. But I could see him welcoming in the child, and the child very much becoming part of his life and becoming part of his energy, because the child showed up so strongly in his chart in his first year of life. But it was like like I said, it basically showed what happened. He wasn't there for the pregnancy, and then the baby came in fully formed, and it's like, oh, I love this little baby, you know. It did create a lot of change for him, and I felt like, I don't know if he set up a trust fund that year for his child or something, but I feel like a lot of money was spent. He could have put away money there and then for his boy, for, you know, his education and whatever, which would have been a very smart thing to do, but it wouldn't have been, you know, a little bit of money. He would have put away a lot of money for his child. So yeah, you're going to want to see the 5th house lit up, because, you know, a baby isn't a small event. You're going to notice, in somebody's solar return chart when they have a baby. Again, we are just looking at the solar return. We don't really have to jump back natally. I would, if, you know, I'm looking ahead quite a bit and I'm not really seeing anything pop out, that's when I start doing the natal comparisons. But I'm not going to go into all that here. This is just a pretty quick video.